Hello everybody, we're getting ready to go over grade 6, quarter 1, math, classwork, homework sheets, quizzes, tests, pacing guide, curriculum map is what it is. But usually I will give your student a diagnostic test first to make sure they're ready for math 6, quarter 1. And let's go over it now in quarter 1, math 6. Week 1 lesson plans here, and we start up here with our lessons for the week, and we start out here with 1.1, applying operations of rational numbers, classwork homework. And then we go to 1.1, classwork homework, evaluating expressions, classwork homework part 1, and then 1.1, evaluating expressions, classwork homework part 2, and then expressions and variables. Then we can get into variables, classwork part 1, and then 1.1, expressions and variables, homework part 1. And this is page 3 through page 17 on your booklet, students, your classwork homework booklet. And then our standards for week 1 we'll get to after I need to mention here. We have a pretest here. It's our grade 7 quarter 1 pretest. And then we go into applying operations with rational numbers quiz. So we have a pretest and a quiz for week 1. And then our standards for week 1 is basically, we start out with the number system here, 6.NS.3. And then this includes fluently add, subtract, multiply and divide, multi-digit decimals using the standard algorithm for each operation. And then we continue on with 7.EE, which is expressions and equations, and that's 7.EE.6. And then we also use expressions and equations 7.EE.2C. So those would be your Common Core standards there for this week. And for our intro, we have an intro here for week 1. Use variables to represent numbers and write expressions when solving a real-world or mathematical problem. Understand that a variable can represent an unknown number or, depending on the purpose at hand, any number in a specified set. And then our learning targets will be evaluate expressions at specific values of their variables, include expressions that arise from formulas used in real-world problems, perform arithmetic operations, including those involving whole number exponents in the conventional order when there are no parentheses, so this is order of operations, to specify a particular order. So again, that's order of operations, which you should have covered in your Math 6. And then resources, materials, animated PowerPoints, and MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz tests, worksheets, activities, and tasks. All classwork sheets are closed exercise, and that means your booklet here, they're all closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s, depending upon the choice of the student, or both. Homework quizzes, test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. So you can do this all online, students. And then available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed captioned for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then for our points, classwork points, 206 for week 1, 60 points in note-taking, 291 points of homework, 20 points of quiz work, and then 0 test points here. And our total for week 1 is 577 points for week 1 of Math 7 quarter 1. Right into our week 2 quarter 1 Math 7 lesson plans. And we start out here with our, what did we start out with here? Our lessons that we actually cover here in week 2. And we go 1.2, 9.1, Exponents Classwork Homework Part 1, and then we go into 1.2 Classwork Powers and Exponents Part 1, 1.2 Homework Powers and Exponents Part 1, Powers and Exponents. Then we go 1.2 Classwork Powers and Exponents Part 2, 1.2 Homework Powers and Exponents Part 2, 1.2 Order of Operations Classwork Homework Part 1, and then 1.2 Order of Operations Classwork Homework Part 2. So we cover mostly here in Order of Operations is what we cover, and then we have a quiz here, 1.2 9.1, which is a quiz for exponents. We're still covering exponents here. And then our standards are 6.EE.1, write and evaluate expressions involving whole number exponents. And then a 7.EE.1, write and evaluate expressions involving whole number exponents. So those are our standards that we cover here. Your intro here, students will understand and apply whole number exponents to write and evaluate numerical expressions. But we also have 7.EE.2c, rewriting expressions to reveal relationships. This was where we get into order of operations here. And rewrite expressions in different forms. That's order of operations. And interpret how each form reveals relationships between quantities. And that's order of operations as well. And it has a lot to do with exponents, by the way. Resources, materials. We have animated PowerPoints and or MP4 or video versions of lessons. Classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets are all done with animated PowerPoints with voiceover and video. So you have that. And then your activities and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercised from PowerPoints or MP4s, homework quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed captioned for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired, and your classwork points are 223 classwork points, 45 note-taking points, you got 270 homework points, 8 quiz points, and then 0 test points. So there's only 8 quiz points here. And the total here is 546 points. It's mostly classwork and homework for week 2 here of Math 7, quarter 1. And we go in here to our Math 7, quarter 1, week 3 lesson plans here. And we start out here with 1.3, 9.3 Order of Operations, Classwork Homework Part 1, 1.3, 9.3 Order of Operations, Classwork Homework Part 2, and then 1.3 Order of Operations, Classwork Part 1, 1.3 Order of Operations, Homework Part 1, 1.3 Order of Operations Classwork Part 2, 1.3 Order of Operations Homework Part 2. And then our standards. Oh no, we got a quiz. 1.3, 9.3 quiz order of operations. Then we go into our standards here, and we have a 6th grade standard, 6.EE.1, write and evaluate expressions involving whole number exponents. And we go into 7.EE.B.4 standard, which is use properties of operations to generate equivalent expressions. 7.EE.8.1, which is aligned with 7.EE.8.2, which is rewriting expressions in different forms. And then 7.EE.B.3, which is solve real-life and mathematical problems using numerical and algebraic expressions and equations. Learning targets. What's our learning targets here for week 3? Apply properties of operations as strategies to add, subtract, factor, and expand linear expressions with rational exponents. Rewriting an expression in different forms in a problem context. That's another learning target. And then solve multi-step real-life and mathematical problems posed with positive and negative rational numbers. And then resource materials, animated PowerPoints, and/or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets, activities, and tasks. All classwork sheets are closed exercised from PowerPoints or MP4s, homework quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. Access for all. Available in over 100 languages. Available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. Classwork is 60 points. Note-taking is 26 points. Homework 28 points. Quiz 58 points. And then tests is 25 points. Total is 197 points for week 3 of Math 7 quarter 1. And then going in here to week 4, Math 7 quarter 1, and then we go into our lessons here, plus our quizzes and tests. We start out in here with 1.4, comparing and ordering integers, classwork part 1, comparing and ordering integers, homework part 1. And then 1.4, 3.3, comparing ordering rational numbers, classwork homework part 1. And 3.3, comparing ordering rational numbers, classwork homework part 2. And then comparing 1.4, comparing ordering integers, classwork part 1. Comparing ordering integers 1.4, homework part 1. And then comparing ordering integers, classwork homework part 2. And then we have in week 4 we have 1.2, comparing ordering integers, Math 6 quiz part 1. And then we go into 1.4, 3.3 quiz, comparing ordering rational numbers quiz. And then the standards that are being covered in week 4. We start out here with 6.NS.5, which is focuses on understanding and of positive and negative numbers in a real-world context. We recover that one again. Then we go into 7.EE.6, solving real-life problems with expressions. And then we go into 7.RP.3, solving multi-step rational and percent problems. And then finally, for week 4, we go into 7.EE.2C, rewriting expressions to reveal relationships. So we cover a lot. Week 4 is big. It's 306 points total, so it's fairly big. And then our intro here is going to be before learning targets. I guess we're going to go learning targets, identify and explain positive and negative numbers in real-world scenarios, represent integers on a number line, and interpret the meaning of 0 in different contexts. And then our intro is lesson plans for 7.EE.2C and 7.EE.6, designed to build algebraic fluency and real-world problem-solving skills. So it basically, these are your basic learning, your Common Core standards here that we cover. And then, as per usual, animated PowerPoints and MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test worksheets. Then all activities and tasks are implemented by class worksheets, which are closed exercise from PowerPoints or video, homework quizzes, test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates, then accessibility available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. We got 116 classwork points, 41 points for note-taking, 107 points for homework, 42 quiz points, 0 points for testing, and the total is 306 points for week 4 of Math 7 Quarter 1. And going in here to Math 7 Quarter 1, Week 5, our lessons for Week 5 for Math 7 Quarter 1 is 1.55.2 adding subtracting decimals Part 1, 1.55.2 adding subtracting decimals Part 2, and then 1.5 adding integers classwork homework Part 1, and then adding integers classwork homework Part 2, and then we go into subtracting integers classwork homework Part 1, and then we have our quiz 1.5 number sense mid-chapter 1 quiz. And then our standards for week 5, we go into 6.NS.3, which is fluently add, subtract, multiply, and divide multi-digit decimals using the standard algorithm for each operation. And also the number system, 7.NS.5, which is understanding rational numbers in context. So those are your Common Cores there for week 5. And then we're going to go into our intro here to week 5. Understand that positive and negative numbers are used together to describe quantities having opposite directions. So what does that mean? So above or below 0, say sea level, temperature above and below 0, credits, debits, and banking, positive, negative charges on a electric circuit. Use positive and negative numbers to represent quantities in real-world context. explaining the meaning of 0 in each situation. Also 6.ns.6, 6.ns.6a, 6.ns.6c. So those will be your Common Core standards there. Then we go into learning targets. So our learning targets would be understand that positive and negative numbers describe quantities with opposite directions or values. Use rational numbers to represent real-world contexts. And then resources, materials, animated PowerPoints, and or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets, activities, and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with the corrections provided after submission dates. Access for all. Available in over 100 languages. Available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired. Audio for sight impaired. Classwork, you got 128 points. Note-taking is 18 points. Homework is 214 points. Quiz is 14 points. 0 test points. Total for week 5 is 374 points. Let's go right into our page 1 here, week 6. Math 7, quarter 1, classwork, homework sheets. Quiz, test, pacing guide, edition 1. And then our actual lessons here for week 6 is, what are we going to study in week 6? Well, we're going to study subtracting integers, classwork, homework, part 2. We start at 1.6, part 2. And then we go to 1.7, multiplying, dividing integers, classwork, homework, part 1. 1.7, multiplying, dividing integers, classwork, homework, part 2. And then 1.8, coordinate plane, classwork, homework, part 1. And then we have our quiz, 1.5, 5.2 quiz, adding, subtracting decimals. So we go do that quiz. And your standards here are the number system, 7.ns.5. And that also includes 7.ns.7c. And these standards are ultimately find and position pairs of integers and other rational numbers or of the coordinate plane. So we start getting into the coordinate plane here. 7.ns.6. 7.ns.6b, and then 7.ns.8. And our intro here is again understanding that positive and negative numbers are used together to describe quantities having opposite directions or values. For example, temperature above below 0, elevation above below sea level, credits and debits, positive, negative, electric charges. Use positive and negative numbers to represent quantities in real-world context, explaining the meaning of 0 in each situation. Also 6.ns.6, 6.ns.6a, and 6.ns.6c. So these are all underneath the umbrella here of 7.ns.7c. So our learning targets here for week 6 is locate rational numbers on horizontal and vertical number lines, understand opposites and absolute value, resource materials, animated PowerPoints and/or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets, activities, and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s, homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And then access for all. Available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, Audio for sight impaired. Classwork is 110 points. Note-taking is 10 points. Homework is 264 points. Quiz is 14 points. Tests are 0 points for tests. So the total for week 6 is 398.7. So we start out here first with our lessons. What are we going to do here for week 7? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do 1.8 coordinate plane, classwork homework part 2. Then 1.9 chapter 1 number system, review and summary, classwork homework. And then 1.9 chapter 1 review and summary, pre-alg, homework part 1. So we got a separate homework from that down here. Then 1.9 math 7 test. So we got our number system test here. We're going to do a test this week. And then we go starting to chapter 2, 2.1, property operations, classwork homework part 1. And then now, these are our standards that we're going to cover for our week 7 of Math 7. So where's those at, Ruff? So we're going to go right here, and we go into our standards that we're going to cover. We go into 7.ns.7c, find and position pairs of integers and other rational numbers. Also, we cover 7.ns.g and 7.ns.gd, 7.ns.8. So those are our Common Core standards there. And then we go into 7.ee, expressions and equations. Use properties of operations to generate equivalent expressions. Apply properties of operations as strategies to add, subtract, factor, and expand linear expressions with rational coefficients. So that sounds pretty fancy. What's our intro here? And again, our intro is our same intro we've had for the last 3 weeks. Understand that positive and negative numbers, positive and negative numbers are used together to describe quantities having opposite directions or values. For example, temperature above below zero, elevation above below sea level, credits, debits, positive, negative, electric charge. Use positive and negative numbers to represent quantities in real-world contexts, explaining the meaning of zero in each situation. Also, 6.ns.6, 6.ns.6a, 6.ns.6c. So there's your fancy Common Core numbers. And then our learning targets: solve systems of 2 linear equations algebraically. Use substitution, elimination, and inspection to solve systems of equations. And then estimate solutions by graphing. And then resources, materials, animated PowerPoints and or MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, test, worksheets, and then activities and tasks. All classwork sheets are closed exercised from PowerPoints or MP4s, homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with the corrections provided after submission dates. Available in over 100 languages. Available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then our classwork points are 112. Note-taking points, 77 note-taking. And then homework is 307 points. Quizzes are 0 points, and we got an 88-point test coming this week. And then your total points for this week is 584. Go right into our Math 7 Quarter 1 Week 8 lesson plans. Here are lessons for Week 8. And what do we got here for Week 8? We're almost done with a quarter here. So we have 2.1, the property of operations, homework, classwork homework part 2. And then we go into the distributive property, classwork homework part 1, 2.2. 2.2 distributive property, classwork part 2. And then we go into 2.3, simplifying variable expressions. So we are starting to get closer here to doing equations in Math 7. And then your significant Common Core standard here is 7.EE. Use properties of operations to generate equivalent expressions. Apply properties of operations as strategies to add, subtract, factor, and expand linear expressions with rational coefficients. So we don't get into, we say rational coefficients. And so our intro now for Math 7 Quarter 1 Week 8. Understand that positive and negative numbers are used together to describe quantities having opposite directions or values in the real world, which, for example, temperatures below zero, elevation, electric charges, credits, debits, and that kind of stuff. And use positive and negative numbers to represent quantities in real-world context, explaining the meaning of zero in each situation. So again, we're back to that standard here significantly, 7.EE. And learning targets, identify and combine like terms, apply to distributive property and commutative property to simplify expressions, justify each step in the simplification process. And your resource materials, animated PowerPoints, MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, tests, worksheets are all done with these two media formats. Activities and tasks, all class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints or video. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. So that means students, you can self-correct, self-grade. Access for all, available in over 100 languages. Available online 24/7, closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. And then classwork is 142 points of classwork, 82 points for note-taking, 254 points of homework. That's a lot of homework. There's no quizzes and there's no tests on week 8. Total points is 478 points for week 8, Math 7. Math 7, Quarter 1. Yay! So we start here, week 9. And here are our subjects for week 9. We got 2.3, simplifying variable expressions, classwork homework part 2. 2.4, variables and expressions, classwork homework part 1, part 2. And then chapter 2, solving equations. We got a review and summary here, classwork homework part 1 for week 9. And then we got a quiz, 2.4, chapter 2, solving equations, quiz. And then 2.4, chapter 2, test, part 1. So there is a quiz and a test. And our standards, simplifying numerical expressions, 7.EE, expressions and equations. Then SSE, .8.1, interpret expressions that represent a quantity in terms of its context. And part A here is interpret parts of an expression such as terms, factors, and coefficients. So it's more of the same really that we were doing in week 8. Apply proportional reasoning. Our intro, apply proportional reasoning to solve problems involving tax, tips, discounts, markups, percent increase, decrease, and percent error. Justify their reasoning and interpret results in the context of real-world situations. And our learning targets, interpret parts of an expression, terms, factors, and coefficients. Understand expressions as representation of real-world quantities, and view parts of an expression as single entities to simplify reasoning. So we get into analyzing expressions, resources, materials, animated PowerPoints, and video for classwork, homework, quiz, tests, worksheets, and then activities and tasks. All class worksheets are closed exercise from PowerPoints and or video, homework quizzes, and test assignments available online with corrections provided after submission dates. And then access for all, available in over 100 languages, available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired, audio for sight impaired. The classwork is 224 points. Note-taking is 37 points, and note-taking 281 points of homework. Quizzing is 65 points, and then your chapter test is 51 points. That's a total of 558 points for week 9 for quarter